All guests appear via the Boardwalk Out hotline, just like 97.3 ESPN.com Phillies beat reporter. He's right there. Frank Klose is the Phillies taking on the Braves tonight at Citizens Bank Park.
The fight for first.
Frank will be there covering the game, of course, as the Braves are in town. It's Pivetta. Frank, I want to get your thoughts on Pivetta and where are you putting him right now? I mean, would you look at him as a number 2, a number 3, or somebody at the back end? Because he's been maybe one of the biggest surprises of this team.
They always really liked where he was going, and we didn't see it yet last year. And I think when they were filling out their rotation this year, before they had Jake Arrieta, they kind of thought he might fit in kind of 2-ish with the talent that they have. But I think they did have big hopes for him heading into this season. What I would like to, where I would ultimately like to see him slot in, I would like to see them get a lefty that could be maybe at least 3 with Arrieta and Nola there along with them, and maybe Pivetta slots in as your 4, and that's a very, very good 4 and a very, very good rotation. So that's what I would like to see the Phillies do go forward, because again, we talked about it many times that they need a left-handed starter. I would like to see the left-handed starter towards the front of the rotation, which I think puts Pivetta right around 4.
Yeah, Frank, and this team with Pivetta and the way Eflin's throwing, and of course, if we were to say you had a 4-game set and Nola and Arrieta were throwing, and you lost those 2 games,
right,
you'd probably be pretty surprised. But the pitching has really been the signature of this team. But my question for you is, do you believe that the pitching will be able to keep this up? I mean, we're only in May, and you're in a first-place game here, but are we going to be talking about this, sometime in July and August about this pitching still?
Well, I think what we're seeing right now is an approach organizationally that the Phillies sort of developed to adjust to the rest of the league. Now, eventually, I think there's still going to be some adjustments back. Early on, a lot of the discussion was that the Phillies had learned to sort of take advantage of the current trends to try to get the balls lifted into the air a little bit more, and you have all the launch angle discussion. So I think the Phillies pitching philosophically has been to take advantage of all the hitters trying to do that. So you might see some correction. The batters are going to go into games in some cases thinking, okay, now the Phillies, they're going to try to pitch me this way because that's what they do. So there might be some adjusting back, but I think what we've seen so far is a real credit to their coaching staff and to Rick Kranitz and organizationally to say, hey, this is the plan, and since everybody kind of stuck with it, you got to think that they're going to be ready to make adjustments when others pick up on the plan and are starting to make adjustments.
Frank Klose with us now. Franco Double Herrera, the streak is over, 45 games, but a great run that he had. A weird way that it ended, too, yesterday, because he did get on base, but it was on a drop strike 3.
Yeah, it's funny how that doesn't count. It's an on-base streak, but you can't satisfy it by getting on base.
Safely,
yeah, exactly. So I don't understand why that wouldn't count, but yeah, lots of credit to Herrera. I know, Mike, you and I have at times been critical of Herrera, and a lot of little holes in his game that we thought existed. He's done a lot of hard work to sort of correct those types of things, and I fully admit that when we were talking in the off season about who might be the guy that goes if you're going to trade some young talent for a starting pitcher, I would have said Herrera would have been a good choice to move. Not that you're trying to get rid of him, but the Phillies hung on to him, and he looks like he's poised to be an all-star, and he looks like he's poised to do it for an extended period of time too.
So with his streak ending, Cesar Hernandez is the next close. He's got a 24-game streak going. Is Hernandez a guy that's getting overlooked in the face of Herrera being so good and Franco having a good year? Is Hernandez's output getting overlooked?
Absolutely, and in a way he always has been. I think so many fans were eager for the Phillies to just get rid of hhim and put Scott Kingery at second base, but the Phillies held off on that. They traded Galvis, and they said, you know what, we have something here. We're not in a hurry to move somebody like Hernandez. We think Hernandez has tremendous talent, and what we saw with Hernandez last year was the ability to get on base, and he's carried that forward to this season too. So I think that now teams would be hard pressed to be able to to pry Hernandez away from the Phillies, because I think the Phillies are. I mean, the plan was for Scott Kingery when he made this team to kind of play all around. But where has he played the least? And that would be second base. So that says a lot. You know, the Phillies were eager to give Kingery the opportunities. They're still eager to give him the opportunities, but he can't crack his own position. So that really says something about what Cesar Hernandez has been to this Phillies team.
What do you think? What is your reasoning why Kingery maybe is struggling? Is it because he keeps moving all over the place? He doesn't know where he's playing day to day. He's trying to learn positions, and is that factoring into his at bats?
Yeah, you can't totally discount it. There's a certain unsettled nature, perhaps, for a player like him who's kind of bouncing around. Now, I thought it was pretty. I don't say good. I mean, not that it was good that J.P. Crawford got hurt, but it was good in terms of Kingery's been able to get some regular at bats at a regular position. Although Flormon's play has been pretty good, so with Pedro Flormon hitting the way he is and pitching the way he is, he's kind of earned sort of that side of the platoon. So he's definitely going to play. I think even when Crawford comes back, he's still going to play short against lefties. But yeah, I think right now his bat is keeping him kind of holding him back a little bit more so than it is the opportunity, because when Crawford went down, shortstop was his. And I think overall we see a lot of good things from Kingery, but we got to remember he's a rookie. And one thing I kept saying this offseason, if you remember, was he really didn't have that many at bats at AAA, and so he kind of skipped over that part of his development. So whether or not you thought a player needs at bats in AAA, everybody seemed to want to get him to the major leagues as soon as possible. And I think if you just kind of skip over those at bats at AAA, where you face a lot of pitchers who had some major league experience, if you're going to skip over that part, then you got to kind of take some struggles with it, because he did not get to see for an extended period of time at least that former major league pitching that's often found at AAA. So I think you can expect him to struggle a little bit. He's kind of finding his place at the plate, and I don't believe really it's a matter of position, since he's had that ability to have that extended time at shortstop, and he's still struggling a little bit.
Now, Frank, the Braves have already given the Phillies fits so far this season. They've been difficult for the Phillies to play, and Mike and I talked that, look, it's not even Memorial Day yet, and yet this is a big series. That said, why do you think the Phillies can you put your finger on why the Phillies have been so good against everybody but National League East teams?
Well, I think the Braves in particular, the Phillies played the Braves how many times within the first 2 weeks? Right, and then they played another series.
The pitching matchup tonight will be the fourth time these two guys are going up against one another.
Yeah, that's of course.
Right. So yeah, the Fultonevich Pivetta matchup has been done, but I think the fact that they saw each other so many times early, that the Braves were so good offensively, they didn't totally destroy the Phillies pitching, which of course was their strength. But on the other side of things, a lot of the Phillies batters were struggling early as well, if you remember, right? So it took a little while for Aaron Altair to get going. It took a little while for Carlos Santana to get going. And now that those guys have sort of gotten out of that rut, they're going to be facing the Braves again for the first time since. So when two very talented teams facing one another, and the one is not really performing in terms of their offense, and you're going to see that the Braves are going to come out on top. Now, since then, of course, they added their superstar Acuna to the outfield, and the Phillies haven't seen him a whole lot yet, but the Braves haven't seen a hot Aaron Altair or a hot Carlos Santana yet. So maybe it'll kind of work itself out. I mean, Fultonevich is a really talented, nice young pitcher. I think this will be a pretty strong battle, and I think this will have to be one that the offense wins. And I think right now, if you had to pick an offense, I think you have to give the edge to the Braves at this point in terms of what their offense is doing. But you really can't count either team out in a matchup like this. And it's just so bizarre though that these two teams have played so much. They'll play 12 times before Memorial Day. Does that sound normal in a major league schedule?
No, it doesn't sound normal to me. And then they don't meet again. There's 6 more games or 7 more games in September to close things out. But, yeah, it's a meaningful game, and we're not even to Memorial Day yet. Frank Klose is with us, our 97.3 ESPN Phillies insider. So they come off the split, Frank, at St. Louis. Were any of the back end of the bullpen questions answered for you? Because I know Sir Anthony Dominguez, for example, got picked up the win the other night in St. Louis, 7-6.
Yeah, so he ended up coming out for that ninth inning, which I know a lot of people were happy to see. But he kind of went out for that second inning after he kind of breezed through the first inning. So it looks like so far the times that he's come in the eighth, Gabe Kapler has been willing to let him stick around in the ninth if he pitches well. That seems to be their approach right now. They don't want to necessarily, it seems, that could change. But it seems like they didn't want to throw him into a ninth inning to start the inning. But they seemed comfortable going that route if they, if he already showed that he had his A game that night. So you remember that one night he was going to come in for the ninth, and then Carlos Santana hit a home run, and that kind of took them further along the batting order, and they ended up pinch hitting for him. So I think they're very confident in Dominguez, and I think we'll start to see them sort of inch toward giving him some more high leverage situations. And there was already one roster decision there. They send Yaxel Rios to AAA instead of Dominguez. So I think that tells you a lot about the Phillies' confidence in Dominguez. And Rios was pretty good. I mean, he only just had a couple tough outings, and that was enough that they sent him to AAA instead of Dominguez. So I think they're gonna ride Dominguez for a little while here and see how far they can go. I mean, let's face it, the guy hasn't given up a hit or a walk yet, right? His one base runner was a hit by pitch. So you really can't argue with results. And as long as he gives them to him, I think the Phillies are going to keep giving him more high leverage situations. But be sensitive to the fact that he's still a rookie.
Were you impressed by Pedro Florimon coming in the other night? I mean, they said they were going to do that again. He hit the high 90s there, Frank, and he hit a home run.
Yeah, hit the home run as a pitcher. So, yeah, it's funny. The thought I had about Florimon after that outing was, it's really hard to find that type of utility player because the ones that end up being the really good utility players are the ones that didn't make it as a starting player in the major leagues, right? So, Florimon, he was seen as somebody having talent as he came up, and he kind of bounced around within a few teams. And I think at this offseason, the Phillies knew that they had somebody with some talent that could be very versatile. I don't know if they signed him again so that he could be a reliever, but it just shows you that he's the type of guy that can be thrown into any situation without worry. And he's had some big hits for the club too. So aside from that home run as a pitcher, but yeah, he's been a very helpful, useful player for this team. He hasn't been on major league rosters a whole lot, but he's been in the major leagues for a few teams, and he does exhibit a little bit of veteran type leadership too for some of the young players, and it's just nice to know you have somebody you can slot in almost anywhere, including pitcher.
Frank Klose, the Phillies are hosting the Braves tonight up at Citizens Bank Park, and it's a early season fun series. It seems like, Frank, it's the first time there's been a series at home with this kind of interest since what, like 11?
yeah, it's still early. We got to remember that. But I think for a lot of fans, it would be really cool to look at the standings and see the Phillies in first place. And it looked like for a while that might happen Sunday, and then the Braves scored 6 in the top of the ninth or bottom of the ninth to win against the Marlins. That was a crazy comeback the Braves just had, but and a sign you can't count the Braves out ever. But it looked like the Braves were going to lose. The Phillies are kind of hanging in there, and now they find themselves a game and a half out of first place. I think the Phillies are still looking bigger picture and long term with the team, but it's always really good if you can open up the newspaper and find your team in first place, and the Phillies have a shot to do that. If they win the first two, guess what? They're in first place.
That's right, and tomorrow Frank will have the Phillies mailbag. Get your questions at Frank Klose, and follow him for tonight's Phillies-Braves matchup up at Citizens Bank Park. Frank Klose, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Thanks, Frank.
Thanks, guys.